So the link. So we are welcoming you back to the lecture after the short period of power shortage. I was trying to tell you that critical thinking is the art of analyzing and evaluating thinking with a view to improving it. What does that mean? Critical thinking is that course that equips you to be able to think in a way that will be better than ordinary way of thinking. It transforms, and because of that, uh, critical thinking will transform you as a learner from being passive into being an active participant in the pursuit of knowledge. What do we mean by that? Your knowledge of critical thinking will take you away from being a passive receptacle, somebody who just sit down and knowledge is just hitting his head. Rather than that, you will be an active participant in the process of acquisition of knowledge. By that, when you are given an idea, critical thinking will keep you with the mechanism of questioning what is the source of what is the source of the information, how acceptable is the source of the information, how consistent is the form of information. So rather than sitting down and just receiving ideas, critical thinking will make you to become an active participant who is not only receiving ideas, but is also participating in the questioning, evaluation, analysis, and assessment of the information that is being passed. And you need a course like this in any discipline in which you find yourself in order to be able to maximally utilize your ability to reason. The roots of critical thinking can be traced to the Socratic method of questioning. Last semester, we taught you what we call the Socratic conception of philosophy, where for Socrates, all received ideas are to be questioned, and you assume ignorance until you have available reasons and evidence before you accept an opinion. So the rules of critical thinking, again, like I said, can be traced to the Socratic method of questioning, which emphasized dialogue and reflection as tools for uncovering truth. Critical thinking is not confined to any single discipline. That is, the use of critical thinking is not limited to philosophy alone. The use of critical thinking is applicable to all areas of human discipline. For instance, in the sciences, critical thinking enables students to evaluate hypotheses, to interpret data, and to distinguish between correlation and causation. What do we mean by correlation and causation? That is, correlation means things that usually happen together. Causation means something that is the cause of the other. With the knowledge of critical thinking, you will not assume, you will not be in a position to erroneously believe that if is usually followed by the other, or most of the time followed by the other, that one is the cause of the other. So that you will not fall into the Yoruba or African view that the witchcraft cried yesterday and the child dies today. Who does not know that is the witchcraft that kills the child? Somebody who studied critical thinking will be able to distinguish between witchcraft crying yesterday and a child dying today. To know that the crying of the witchcraft yesterday may not necessarily be the cause of the death of the child today. But without critical thinking, it is easy for somebody who is just thinking ordinarily to assume that because that the death of the child today should be ascribed to the cry of the witchcraft yesterday. So we say in the sciences, critical thinking enables students to evaluate hypotheses, interpret data, and distinguish between correlation and causation. In the arts and law, critical thinking allows for the careful analysis of texts. When we say text, books or articles, text, T-E-X-T-S, text. So it allows for the careful analysis of text, arguments, and cultural practices. So that with your knowledge of critical thinking, you will not just accept any received opinion without questioning. In the social sciences, it provides tools for understanding human behavior, human institutions, and social change. So across all fields, now we have told you the possible uses of it in the sciences, in the arts and law, and in the social sciences. And we are now saying that across all fields, critical thinking helps students to avoid unexamined conclusions and assumptions. Every conclusion you will want to examine, every assumption you want to examine, critical thinking will make you to be on your toes at all points in time. Remember last semester, we said philosophy is like a gadfly because it always keeps you on your toes. And beyond academia, that is, beyond being a student, being a learner, critical thinking plays a vital role in everyday life. So whichever aspect of life you find yourself, critical thinking is of great use. It equips individuals to make informed decisions, and it helps them to resist manipulations. So with your knowledge of critical thinking, you can make informed decisions. That is, you are talking as somebody who is knowledgeable. Before you say anything, critical thinking will already make you to know that you have to critically examine what you are going to say. And at the same time, it resists manipulations. It makes you to know when you are being subjected to manipulation by your co-discussant. So critical thinking is essential. And it is different from ordinary thinking. It is different from ordinary thinking. It is different from ordinary thinking. Why ordinary thinking relies most of the time on habit, intuition, or unexamined assumptions. Critical thinking requires deliberate evaluation of evidence, logical consistency, and awareness of bias. So what are we saying? Someone who has the knowledge of critical thinking, his own way of thinking will be different from people who just drink, who just think ordinarily. People who think ordinarily, their own thinking is influenced by habits that they have formed. Many a time is informed by the kind of belief or intuition that they hold. And many a time they end up holding assumptions that are not critically examined. On the other hand, critical thinking will make you to deliberately evaluate evidence, and it will encourage you to engage in logical consistency, and it will make you to be aware of the presence of bias. So if you are discussing with someone and the person is biased, critical thinking will make you to know immediately. If you yourself, you are discussing with someone and you are selling an idea to somebody else, critical thinking will also make you to know when your position is being influenced by bias. So critical thinking demands that at every point in time, we ask the question, is this claim supported by evidence? Whether it is the claim that you are making or the claim that is being sold to you by your interlocutor. Your interlocutor is the person that is discussing with you, the person that is exchanging ideas with you. So critical thinking will demand that you ask questions such as, is this claim supported by evidence? Are there alternative explanations apart from the one being given? Are there some other possible alternative explanations? And also, it will also help. So you will also need to raise the question, what assumptions underlie this argument? Is it your religious assumption? Is it your ethnic assumption? So you need to ask the question. Critical thinking will help you to know that these questions are always important at every point of your life. The questions such as, is this claim supported by evidence? Are there alternative explanations? And what assumptions underlie this argument? So these are the benefits that you can get from critical thinking. The issue now is we want to go to core components of critical thinking. Core components of critical thinking. The ones that we have discussed, they are the skills that you can gain from your study of critical thinking. Now we want to go to core components of critical thinking. When you engage in critical thinking, what are the things that are expected of you? Of you, we expect analysis. When you are given an idea or information, we expect you to have the power of analysis. And what do we mean by analysis? Ability to break down concepts, statements, and arguments into constituent parts. If we are talking about breaking down of concepts, analysis, critical thinking through analysis will help you to know that it is not every man from your village that is your brother. Analysis will help you to break down the concept brother. You will now know that a brother is a male sibling. For someone to be a brother, that person must be a male and must be a sibling, that is, must be from your parents. So that when you use brother very carelessly, meaning that everybody from your village is your brother, analysis will help you, critical thinking will help you to know that you are not using word correctly. Statements can be analyzed, can be broken into component parts. The same thing, arguments can be broken into constituent parts. To break arguments into constituent parts, you will know that an argument is made of premises or reasons. and conclusion. It is not that you will just be going around that the Bible says it's only a fool that said there is no God. That one is not an argument. Only a fool says that there is no God. That one is an assertion. It's a claim that is not supported by reason. If you want to make an argument to convince that somebody should believe in God, you will have reason. God is this, God is this, God is this. Therefore, God exists. That will be the kind of thing that will be expected of you. For instance, the argument that God exists, you may say everything in this world has a cause. There's nothing that is not caused, but we cannot go on indefinitely searching for causes. There must be a being that does not require a cause. Therefore, God exists as the ultimate cause. So God is the final cause. Therefore, God exists as the final cause. With that one, you have broken an argument into its component parts. You have broken a brother to a component parts by saying it's a male sibling. Okay? Another component of critical thinking is evaluation. When an idea is being sold to you or you are the one selling it to others, you need evaluation. You need to ask, by evaluation, we mean your ability to assess the credibility of sources and the strength of evidence. So that it is not every belief or every opinion that is sold to you that you have to accept hook, line, and sinker. For every belief that is sold to you, for every information that is given to you, it is part of critical thinking to give you the ability to assess the credibility. How credible? So the credibility of sources and the strength of evidence. Okay? Somebody wants to convince you about a position. The person has given you his own argument. It is critical thinking. Part of the instruments of critical thinking is evaluation. That is the aspect of critical thinking that teaches you to assess the credibility of sources, and that is sources of evidence and the strength of evidence. Another component of critical thinking is inference. So you are exposed to different ideas in the world, but you need the ability to be able to say that if this happens, and this happens, then this will follow. So for instance, you believe that if it rains, then the ground will be wet. And you now discover that it rains. Nobody should tell you before you will know that the ground is going to be wet. So that's ability to infer. So inference, INFERENCE. Inference is another component of critical thinking. That is ability to draw logical conclusions from available information. Okay. Fellow students, you need to press these codes for your attendance. You need to press these codes for your attendance. Otherwise, you are recorded as being absent from this class, and it will have effect at the end of the semester. FV, W, FV, W, W, H. FV, W, W, H. You need to insert those codes. Otherwise, you are absent from this class. Okay? So, evaluation is one of the components of critical thinking. So, inference, your ability to draw logical conclusions from available information. So, inference is one of the core components of critical thinking. Another core component is explanation. When you are to give an idea or information to people, or you are to receive information from people, ability to explain is very important. And that is one of the core components of critical thinking. Your ability to clearly articulate reasoning and justify conclusions. A student of critical thinking do not just talk carelessly and expecting the other person to accept what he's saying. He will need to clearly articulate his reasons or her reasons, and he must be ready to use those reasons to justify the conclusions. That's explanation. And the other component is self-regulation. Self-regulation. Critical thinking teaches you to be able to regulate your own thought, so that when you are discussing with someone, the way you are able to assess their own thought, you must be able to assess your own thought to be sure that you are not just issuing biases to other people. So self-regulation is important. Your ability to reflect on your own thought processes, to recognize biases, and to correct errors in your thinking. So we have these 5 core components of critical thinking: analysis, evaluation, inference, explanation, and self-regulation. However, these components, they are interrelated and they are interdependent. The skills are interdependent. Inference without evaluation may lead to false conclusion. False, F-A-L-S-E. Okay, inference without evaluation may lead to false conclusions. While analysis without explanations may fail to communicate insights effectively. Insights, INSIGHTS. Again, inference without evaluation may lead to false conclusions, while analysis without explanation may fail to communicate insights effectively. This is to show you that these core components, they are interrelated and they are interdependent. Having dealt with the core components of critical thinking, let us now go to dispositions to critical thinking. That is, if you want to engage in critical thinking, what are the dispositions required from you as a thinker? One of them is open-mindedness. Open-mindedness. By open-mindedness, we mean that as somebody that is engaging in critical thinking, you must believe that there's no final answer, no final question, no final conclusion. No belief is absolute. Whatever belief you hold, you must know that you must be open-minded enough to hold that belief tentatively, such that when you are confronted with a superior argument, you must be ready to accept that superior argument. It must not be that because this is the way I've been believing, maybe my pastor, this is the way my pastor taught me in Sunday school, or this is the way the ustaz taught us at our madrasat when we are going to madrasat, and this is the way our forefathers have been thinking. That must be the way. No, every belief that you hold, you must hold it tentatively. You must be open-minded in a way that if you are discussing with anyone, you must be ready to listen to that person critically. And if you discover that that person's thinking is superior to your own thinking, you must know when to surrender your own formerly held belief and accept the new superior opinion. That is when you can say that you have developed yourself as a critical thinker. A critical thinker doesn't believe that a position is absolute. You must also be fair-minded. So open-mindedness is the first one. You must be open-minded. The second one, the second disposition to critical thinking is fair-mindedness. Fair-mindedness. You must be fair-minded in a way that you must be ready to subject your own opinion and the opinion of others to equal measurement. You must not give more weight to your own idea at the expense of the idea of another person. Critical thinking teaches you to be fair-minded in a way that you will subject your own and the one of the others to equal measurement. And the one that weighs better is the one that you should accept. Then there's respect for evidence. Respect for evidence is another disposition to critical thinking. You must be thinking in a way that you will allow evidence to lead your thought, not that you will be forcing evidence to comply with what you believe. When you are observing, or you are studying, or you are arguing, or you are writing, you must allow evidence to lead you to the truth. You must not behave in a way that even when when you are confronted with evidence, you are still looking for how to use your own belief to make the evidence to dance to your own tune. When you are doing that, that will be a biased way of thinking. That means you have not imbibed the spirit or the disposition of critical thinking. Critical think, the disposition, that is, by disposition we mean the tendency. You must have the tendency to be open-minded, we have explained. You must have the disposition or tendency to be fair-minded, and you must be ready to respect evidence. And the other one is intellectual perseverance. You know, to persevere. To persevere means to be ready to endure. So, intellectual perseverance, you do not easily give up. When you are in a position of exchanging ideas with other people, you must be such that you can persevere intellectually. You give your own argument, reason, conclusion, and you are ready to persevere. You are ready to endure the argument of the other person. Do not assume that the other person is so stupid and you say, no, we can't continue with this discussion. It is when reason fails that human beings resort to force. Where and critical thinking is about reasoning. So you must be able to endure other people's reasoning. Do not assume that when someone disagrees with you, it means that that person is not reasonable. Reason, be able to endure their reasoning so that you can know what they are saying and you will be ready to assess them. When they are assessing your own, be ready to listen to them. Don't turn to a quarrel. Be thinking and be looking for how to further support your own idea. Now, having treated dispositions to critical thinking, we now go to obstacles to critical thinking. Now, you may want to be a critical thinker, and there may be some obstacles on the way. One of such obstacles will be cognitive biases. Cognitive biases. You know, as human beings, cognition means your ability to understand the environment, your knowledge, your understanding. Now, when we say cognition, that's why we say you recognize, because you have met the person before, you cognize. When you are meeting the person, you are meeting the person again, you are now recognizing. That's analysis. So cognitive biases. When you already have some received opinion, and you think that your received opinion is the only true opinion, that will block your understanding, and it will serve as an obstacle to critical thinking. For someone that engages in critical thinking, you must not allow your received opinions, the opinion that you have been nursing for several years, you must not allow it to becloud your understanding. When you are exposed to new information, to new data, listen and observe very well. If it disagrees with your received opinions, the opinions that you have been nursing before, look at it carefully and see whether it was the one that you are holding before that has problem. Where you are not able to do that, you are engaging yourself in cognitive biases, and that will be an obstacle to critical thinking. That is, it will block your way to achieving critical thinking. So under cognitive biases, we now have three. We have confirmation bias. Okay? Confirmation bias, that is the tendency to seek out or interpret information in ways that confirm your pre-existing beliefs. Confirmation bias. So under obstacles to critical thinking, we have different biases. One of them is cognitive biases. Under cognitive biases, you have confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is the tendency to seek out or interpret information in ways that confirm your pre-existing beliefs. There are some beliefs that you have been holding before, and there is the tendency in you to want to interpret information in order to make it to agree with your pre-existing beliefs. Where you do that, that is called confirmation bias. Another bias under cognitive biases is anchoring bias. Anchoring, ANCHORING. You know bias already, BIAS, and you know how to write confirmation, confirmation. So anchoring bias, that is relying too heavily. You are committing anchoring bias when you rely too heavily on the first piece of information encountered. Anchoring bias is when you are relying too heavily on the first piece of information encountered. That is, there are different approaches to issues, but there's one of the approaches that you first encounter. And since that is the first one that you encounter, you are not ready to accommodate any other. There are some others. When you have two people quarreling, there are some people, the first out of the two people quarreling that came to you to report to you, you believe that that is the one that must be correct. When the second person now comes to you to explain his own side, you have already made up your mind that that first person that came to you must be the one that is correct. When you are doing that, that is anchoring bias. That means you are relying too heavily on the first piece of information that you encounter. When you do that, that is an obstacle to critical thinking. That is, it will block your way to achieving critical thinking. It will make it difficult or impossible for you to achieve critical thinking. That's why we call it obstacles to critical thinking. The third of the cognitive biases is the one we call availability heuristic. You know how to write available. So availability. Then heuristic, 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 availability heuristic. That, so again, ladies and gentlemen, you have to insert this code again to be sure that you are still with us. Otherwise, you run away in the middle of the lecture. 7 9 Z capital Q 7 7 9 Z capital Q 7. You should use TELEPRESENCE link, not YouTube. Do not type this code on YouTube. You must use the TELEPRESENCE link. 7 9 Z capital Q 7. Thank you. So availability heuristic is another obstacle to critical thinking. By availability heuristic, we mean judging the likelihood of events based on how easily examples come to mind. Judging the likelihood of events based on how easily examples come to mind. Because you have watched some televisions where they show crashes of planes. You then from there assume that planes are always crashing. Where they have shown some events of bandits abducting some people on some roads, you then from there come to the conclusion that bandits are always abducting people on that road. When you do that, that will be availability heuristic, and it will be one of the obstacles blocking your way to achieving critical thinking. It will make it difficult or impossible for you to achieve critical thinking. So we are under obstacles to critical thinking. The first class is cognitive biases. Under cognitive biases, we have discussed confirmation bias, anchoring bias, and availability heuristic. Another class of obstacles is emotional biases. Emotional biases. That is, biases that come out of our emotion, out of our uncritical thinking. So under emotional biases, we have fear and anxiety. When we are afraid and we are anxious, it may be difficult for us to want to think critically. In a situation of fear, someone may not have enough time to begin to think about reason, then conclusion. So fear and anxiety will be an example of emotional biases. So, and it will be an obstacle to critical thinking. The other one is hunger. When you are hungry, that's why they say that when we are all madmen and mad women, the only thing is we that we consider ourselves to be normal, our own madness is temporary. At any point when you are angry, that is your own temporary moment of insanity. So anger is a kind of madness. So somebody who is angry may find it difficult to think critically. So anger also is an example of emotional bias, just like fear and anxiety. The third under emotional biases is overconfidence. Many of you assume that you know so much. And because you think you know so much, just like many of you are not in this class now, they believe they know much because they have bought a Booker handout. So they are so overconfident that that overconfidence will not allow them to be able to be reasonable, to know that they have to attend classes, mark attendance, listen to lectures, take notes for them to pass very well. People who know that you have to be critical in your thinking to know that you need to attend classes, you need to listen attentively, you need to write your notes, you need to be present so that you can mark attendance before you can do well in any course. So ability to do that is an aspect of critical thinking. But where you are overconfident, you may not be ready to do that. Out of about 3,000 students, only 126 of you are here now. So that means the others, they are overconfident and they are not anywhere to listen to lecture. God will help them after when the result is out. Another obstacles to critical thinking, another class of obstacles to critical thinking is cultural and educational constraints. Cultural and educational constraints. You know constraints, 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 cultural and educational constraints. Now, there are some obstacles that can come on the way of critical thinking as a result of the culture, as a result of our culture, and as a result of the kind of education that we receive. Obstacles, and there are obstacles under this cultural and educational constraints. That is, constraints or obstacles created by our culture or created by the kind of education that we receive. One example is cultural deference to authority. Cultural deference to authority. Deference is DEFERENCE. DEFERENCE. Difference, to defer to someone. Okay? Cultural deference to authority. Difference when you give too much respect to authority. So as a result of your culture, that means cultural deference to authority. You know that in many African cultures, when elders are discussing, the younger ones sometimes are not allowed to participate. Even when the elders are wrong, the younger ones are not allowed to point out to them that they are wrong. Where you have such cultural deference to authority, that will serve as a block on your way to critical thinking. It will make it difficult for you to be critical. You know what is correct, you know how the arguments of the elders are wrong, but the culture does not allow you to tell them because of cultural difference to authority. Where you have that, it will be difficult for you to achieve critical thinking. So that will serve as a cultural and as a cultural constraint to critical thinking. But as somebody who is knowledgeable in critical thinking, without being rude, You can still find a way with respect. Maybe, excuse me, sir. Excuse me, ma. I was listening to what you were saying. But I think that rather than looking at it that way, excuse ma, excuse sir, what if we try this other way? You can still find a way of saying it. But in many African cultures, if where that is not allowed, then this cultural difference to authority will serve as an obstacle to critical thinking. Then we have language barriers. We have language barriers where you cannot speak the language of the other people. You know that in English, you has no respect. You. But if it is Yoruba, you can mean ìwọ. You can mean ẹ̀yin. Ìwọ for somebody who is your contemporary. Ẹ̀yin, the plural form for the elderly ones. So for someone that is coming from English language and he wants to talk to another, he thinks that you means, since that person is singular, he thinks that you means ìwọ, and the elderly person will be annoyed that, am I your age mate? Why are you calling me ìwọ? Whereas from the English language that the other person is coming from, one person is a singular, so you cannot use a plural form of ẹ̀yin. So language barrier. So where your own language now requires that there must be extra respect to the others. The respect that one language carries, the other language may not carry it. So language barrier can also serve as obstacles to critical thinking. Then our educational system, the kind of education that we receive, okay, can also serve as barrier to critical thinking. If the educational system is the one of memorization, the educational system where you are only allowed to memorize, no room for questioning evidence, no room for analysis, no room for questioning. You are just to sit down and to learn by memorization. That form of educational system will also serve as obstacle to critical thinking, because in that educational system, learners or students will only remain as passive receptacles. You know, receptacles, something that receives things from outside. So passive, you are not active. Okay, so you just sit down and somebody is just talking and you are just writing without questioning. You just sit down, somebody is telling you new things, no room for questioning. That type of educational system will serve as an obstacle to critical thinking. Another obstacles to critical thinking can come under social and technological challenges. Social and technological challenges. You know, as society develops and as technology develops, there are some aspects of it that can create problem for critical thinking. Under social and technological challenges to critical thinking, we have information overload. Information overload, okay? Overload. You know, when policeman catches you and say overload in your car, you have overloaded your car, okay? Information overload. If the social media today, on the social media, your TikTok, your everything, you have too many information coming in on your phone, on your laptop, everywhere, that you have so much of them that you are overloaded, and it creates problem finding time to take them one after the other, to begin to analyze, to begin to question. So information overload can create problem where you are confronted with too many information, and it becomes difficult for you to have enough time to begin to analyze or question each of them one after the other. That can serve as an obstacle to critical thinking. You have echo chambers. You have echo chambers. The social media today, as a result of technological and social development, you have echo chambers that there are some information that you usually search, maybe on Facebook, maybe on Google. And since they have saved your data, they make sure that information that you always search for, they begin to send them to your link. So that at the end of the day, if you are not careful, you will then think that that one which you are interested in is the only approach to understanding things, because you are bombarded with the same thing all the time. So that will be echo chambers. ECHO, echo. Chambers, CHAMBERS, echo chambers. That will also be another obstacle to critical thinking. And finally, you have what is called outright misinformation. Outright misinformation. Today, because everybody is a journalist, because of the presence of social media, you now have what they call fake news. And so you have fake news everywhere now. So much that it becomes difficult for you to begin to know which one is fake, which one is not fake. Somebody's head can be put on the shoulder of another person, and that person is doing something, and you are made to believe that it is the person, the owner of the head, that is the owner of the action. Now, information gathered from that, you will now ascribe it to somebody who doesn't know about it. But now, the issue where it is a problem for critical thinking is that it will now take a lot of time for us to be able to know which one is fake and which one is not fake. Now, critical thinking. So these are some of the obstacles to critical thinking. Now, from what we have seen now, okay, gentlemen and ladies, enter this code again so that we will know that you have followed us up to this extent. A, Q, E, F, H, all in capital letters. A, Q, E, F, H, on your teleconference link, not on YouTube. A, Q, E, F, H. Thank you very much. Now, thus far, for today, we have taken you through the nature of critical thinking, core components of critical thinking, dispositions to critical thinking, and obstacles to critical thinking. Under the nature of critical thinking, we have told you what critical thinking is and what it helps you to do. Under core components of critical thinking, we have looked at the instruments that critical thinking uses to help you to achieve what we have discussed under the nature of critical thinking: analysis, evaluation, inference, explanation, and self-regulation. We have also discussed dispositions to critical thinking, that is, tendency, things that you need to do to be able to achieve critical thinking. And we have discussed open-mindedness, fair-mindedness, respect for evidence, and intellectual perseverance. Now, obstacles, we discuss obstacles to critical thinking. A, that is the first one, the first class of obstacles, cognitive biases. Under cognitive biases, we have discussed confirmation bias, anchoring bias, and availability heuristic. B, under obstacles, we have the category of obstacles that we call emotional biases. Under emotional biases, we have discussed fear and anxiety. We have discussed anger, and we have discussed overconfidence. C, under obstacles, that is cultural and educational constraints. Under that, we have discussed cultural deference to authority, language barriers, educational systems. And D, social and technological challenges. Under that, as obstacles, we have discussed information overload, echo chambers, and outright misinformation. The point now is, as we find in the manual, all of these things that we have learned, you can now see how you can apply them to various areas of studies. For those who are in the arts, those who are in the social sciences, those who are in law, there's no discipline in which you find yourself that critical thinking will not be applicable. Even for those who are not learning, even when you are trading, when you are selling tomato or you are selling tires, critical thinking is also useful. You are going to find all of these also in the manual. You have learned about these mechanisms of critical thinking. You have learned about possible obstacles to it. You have learned about the component, the mechanism that you can use. You have learned about the tendencies that you have to develop for you to become a critical thinker. And the application of them is universal. It's not restricted to any discipline. It's not limited to any discipline. So we shall stop here today. Next week, we will take another topic. Thank you for listening. But tell those your friends who are not serious. You are supposed to be about 3,000 students. This 987. Let nobody come and cry when the result is out. God bless you. Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Uh, Good afternoon, student, library 001 student. This is the fourth lecture for library 001, which is module 4 as displayed on the screen. My name is JT Oluwaniyi, Mr. A librarian at Obafemi HO Library, Ezekiel Oluwasomi Library. So I'm your instructor, the first instructor for this lecture this afternoon. So the module 4, the title of the module is Information Access Tools. Information Access Tools. What do we understand by information access tools? You know, in the library, we have myriads of materials. Before you can get access to all those materials, both print and not print, you should have what? A tool by which you will do what? To access it, so that you'll be able to do what? You maximize the use of that materials. So, introduction. This module will take you through how to get required information within the shortest possible time in any library and online. That is, whenever you watch, you don't want to waste your time in the library. You have to do what? Know how to use these tools, so that, because time is what? It's very precious. Time is money. The second point is it discusses each tools by which users can search for information from different sources and formats. That is print, non-print, multimedia, electronic, and internet. We have all these, information sources. You have to do what? You want to make use of them in the library, you have to, know how to make use of those tools. 3, they are means of locating, accessing, and retrieving information resources and databases. That is, like I've said earlier, you have to be vast. You have been knowledgeable about those tools. Those tools. So another point, the next point, the tools are indexes, abstracts, bibliographies, catalogs, and search engines. Those are the tools we're going to discuss this afternoon, one after the other. Definition of information access tools. Information access tools are utilities that are used to locate, access, and retrieve information. In the library, we have what you need to know how to access, retrieve, and use, or usage. You know how to access, retrieve, and usage. So that's why you have to do what? You have to know all these tools. The second point is they are information finding aids that are meant to enable users to locate piece of information quickly and easily in a source that contains large amount of information, such as books, a library, the internet, or database. Like I've told you, you should know how to manage your time. So you know how to manage your time. You cannot, maybe you want to just spend 30 minutes in the library, and to get the target material information, you have to do what? You know how to make your time, to use your time wisely. The number one, abstract definition. An abstract is a brief summary of a research work, article, review, conference proceeding, meant to guide and assist readers to quickly ascertain the paper's intent and content. Abstract means it's a summary, succinct. What has the whole article has been summarized. The whole content has been summarized. Immediately looking at the abstract, it will tell you either you need that paper or article for the information you are intended to get, or the one you just set aside. So that is then another point is it is comprehensive and always appear at the beginning of a paper or a research work and acts at the point of entry of any given academic or scholarly work. It should be that's abstract. It should be the point of entry, that is the first point of contact at the top of the article is the first one that we got. It's always, in a very bold letter. So that's one we will tell you how that paper is relevant to the work on assignment you're about to work on. Another point is, though concise in nature, it is considered as ultimate summary of a full content and as the first part of a scholarly publications. That is, it will contain the purpose, method, and the recommendation of what is inside the paper. So it will summarize all those three components. Another point is abstract length varies by discipline and publisher's requirement. When we want to publish an article, the publisher will request, the publisher request differs from one publisher to the other. Some people can ask for maybe 50 words of 100 or 30. It depends on the publisher's requirement. Uses of abstracts. What are we using abstract for? One, academic and scholarly works use abstracts to communicate to the findings, complete research to readers after you must have done your work, your research paper, go to the field and everything. Abstract will do what? We tell you, you have to communicate to what? To readers. What your findings, what you have, arrive about your research products. So that is what, it does, communicate findings, complaints, reach to readers. Another point is it highlights the purpose, method, findings, and recommendation of a given work. So those are what the components of a research paper, of an article. One, purpose, method, findings, and recommendation of work. So it will, be compressed inside the summary. Then another point is also used by many organizations as the basis for selecting research that is proposed for presentation. When various abstracts are considered before an organization can select research, for for presentation. So is another point, to consider the use of abstracts. In addition, abstract enable readers to decide whether it is necessary to read larger work or not, because when you want to make use of 30 articles for your work, that abstract enables you to go through, to scan through whether this article is relevant to your field of work, to your assignment, maybe you'll be given assignment. That abstract will tell you either to make use of that article or not to use to waste your time. Another point is helps the readers to know the purpose of research work. When you are reading an abstract, it allows you to do it, to know why that research has been carried out. So, very, very important. Another point is it serves as point of entry for any given academic paper. Like I've told you earlier, the first point from whenever you pick an article, the first point of entry up is the what? It will tell you what the purpose of that paper is about. It's a point of entry for any given academic paper. When you look at that, even that's academic paper is quite different from other papers. That's what distinguishes academic paper from other papers. That the abstract for the of the point of entry at the point of entry. It's used for compiling bodies of literature of any particular subject. When you want to make use of the literature, by the time you are finished your research work, what you need, you have to do what? You compile at the tail, at the end of your papers, the various articles you have consulted. So that's another use of an abstract. Use of abstract continue. It displays cogent and key elements of an academic writing in a concise and brief manner, yet showing authority and genuineness of the work. So it does that. Another point that it provides current awareness on what has been published. When you are doing the research, especially in a science, current awareness, what is obtainable, at that present time. What is the latest research on the field, the latest, findings. So that is, what can use abstract for. Another point is it gives insight to original content of a scholarly work in depth before you can reading an abstract will tell you what is inside the contents of the whole article. Another thing is index. Another information access tool is index. What's the definition? And it is a guide to the content of a periodical or information material. So it will guide you. It will guide you to the what? To the content of a periodical information materials. Okay. ZE. Okay. So you have to attendance want to take their attendance. Attendance code is ZEWQA. Attendance ZE. The first code for attendance ZEWQA. Again, ZEWQA. Let's continue with the index. An index provides references to articles that have been published in journals, magazines, and newspapers. Let me start the example. When a book is written, like you pick just a textbook, just a textbook. Maybe at the end of that textbook, you say index. It tells you some points that have been discussed inside that book. It will list them alphabetically. So that is an example. So that's just an example. Index provide references to articles that have been published in journal. We have index of articles in the library. That's what that will tell you. It tells you the references to various articles in the library. When you get to the journal, section in the library, you have the compilation of those of the indexes. They are what? They are there. So our staff are in the and are very, very ready to do what? To attend to you whenever you come to the library. Another point is that it provides references and citation for articles published periodical within a specific time frame. Could be a month or 2 months, a year. It will what? It will provide citation of articles. What is citation? The author, title, year of publication, ISBN, and so on and so forth for a specific time. So another point that it also serves as access point to the content of periodical or series, book, conference proceeding, and report, as well as other information materials. It's an access point to the content of periodicals, books, conference proceeding, and report, as well as other information materials. So let's move forward. Another point is indexes are tools needed to locate an actual article needed for either research or other means. When you get to the library, to locate an article needed for a particular research, you have to do what? You request for that, the index material, that's, index of journals. That's one we do what? Provide you with needed information on the article that have been published, the details, author, title, and the publications. So, type of index is like I've told you, back of book index. The one I've told you, pick a copy, a copy of a textbook at the back. You do what? You see the index there according to what? According to alphabetical order. Name index serves as a pointer at and locator for various names in a write-up. Name index, the names of those the writers. The systematic index, it is a systematically arrayed list that gives detailed information on items used in a text. Systematically arranged list. So it will give you detailed information on items used in a text. So maybe those words are not understandable. You can just look at this the index and you try and look at, maybe checking the dictionary or look for further meanings. The subject index contains some structured key terms that serve as lead to the subject and discuss and treated in an entire work. Structured key terms. So that is all about that, the subject index. Then periodical and newspaper index. Periodical and newspaper, that lists articles by subject, author, or title, providing citations. So this one will give you added information concerning the material you are looking for. In categories of index, you have general one. It covers a broad variety of topic which may be used to index periodicals such as newspaper, magazine, and scholarly journals. So that is the general one. We have specialized one. It only covers a specific or particular topic or discipline which may be employed to index scholarly journals. I want you to I want to use this medium to introduce to a handbook, published by the library. The title is Library and Information Users. So to get more explanation on the Library 001, you can just get a copy of that book. That book will do what? We just give you, the necessary explanation you need. It will help. It will help you. So if you can get it, you will get it in a OAU bookshop. Another information access to is bibliography. What do you mean by bibliography? A bibliography refers to a list of all information sources and resources, such as books, periodical articles, websites, etc., arranged in a logical sequence, having some relationship with each other. So when you get to the library, we have a bibliography, a compilation of bibliography. It gives you the title of the article or the books, the author, the pagination, and ISBN. So that is, how to go down. From there, you can know which book, where you are, which book has been, you need for your work, and where to do it, where to get them. If you have them in the library, you can easily we can easily, get it. But if you don't have in the library, we liaise with other libraries, both Nigerian and abroad, in order to do what? To make them available for you. Another point is it is an orderly and sequential referencing of information materials and their sources used in academic research. So, an orderly and sequential referencing of information materials and their sources used in academic research. So, from there, you can do what? You can know which type of materials you do what you need for your assignment or your long essay. Another point is also a list of sources of information consulted at the end of the text, either cited in text or not. Every source of information consulted at the end of the bibliography, they have to do what? They are cited there. They are cited there. The title, the year of publication. You see everything there, so that whenever you have finished writing your write-up, you can also do what? You can pick from those, from those cited in text or not, or from cited in text sources. Another point is the systematic list of all published materials on a given subject or a country. Published materials on a given subject, either English, biology, or chemistry, and everything. So it's a what? It's a list that have been published. You compile them together, so you know how far they have gone, in the area of research concerning that subject. Then again, bibliographies are very important for researchers and students in carrying out a good literature research. It helps you to do what? To have a very, robust literature research, very robust one, complete one. So because your literature research will depicts how, genuine your article will be or your work. Another point is it tells what exists and where they can be located, e.g. British National Bibliography tells you what exists, what you have in existence, what have been existing, and what, where you can be located, either, locally or international, e.g. British National Bibliography. Another point is the bibliography is useful in that it facilitates easy location of information materials. I told you in the library, access information, you have to access and, usage. So bibliography is useful in that it facilitates easy location of information. If you want to locate an information very easily, go to bibliography. Type of bibliography, we have enumerative bibliography, which is very comprehensive. Enumerative, that is very comprehensive. It is also known as compilative or systematic bibliography. It's a form of publication that conforms to a particular category or some specific arrangement by author, subject, date, or some schemes. They are arranged according to by author, subject, date, or some other schemes. They are comprehensive and enumerative. That's one. Another type of bibliography is analytical bibliography, also known as critical bibliography. It concerns about detailed information about a source, bracket, opened, books, periodicals, video, audio, painting, etc., etc. So it includes information concerning printers, booksellers, papers, description, binding, and other physical characteristics of information materials. Another one is annotated bibliography. Annotated bibliography provides a brief description of the kind and nature of research carried out on a particular topic with notes and the comment about the sources. You can see maybe provide brief description of the kind and nature of research carried out in a particular topic. For example, maybe it can be chemistry or engineering with notes and comment about the sources. That one, will give you more information or added information. Current bibliography gives a list of recent published materials and sources. We want to look at the current published materials there. You go to current bibliography. Current depicts the recent materials. Then another one is national bibliography. National, not international. It is a list of publications and their source of medium of publication may be source emanating from a particular geographical location, maybe Nigeria, carve out from African or the world, location of the world. The medium of application may be the national or local language of a particular country or nation. It could be, maybe language-wise or country-wise or nation-wise or no. So from that, which one to do what to request for. Another one is international bibliography. That one international, worldwide, all over, the world. So it provides a list of information materials such as books, manuals, articles, periodical website, each respect to their sources, as well as publications, details from worldwide sources. Most of books we procure, we get them. We don't all of us get them from Nigeria. We get them from other, places like American, UK, elsewhere, etc., etc. That's international. Now, wise. In general, bibliography is not limited to a particular author, job, subject, country, or period of time. It is general. It's general. Autobiography deal with only author. Works undertaken by an author or authors. List works undertaken by, maybe, okay. So, maybe the list by some authors like Wole Soyinka, etc., etc. So you list their work and, and their details. The subject biography is restricted to a particular subject or discourse for a particular subject or discourse. Another one is trade bibliography, deals with information connected to commercial activities and ventures. If you want to go into, commercial activities and, get to trade, to trade bibliographies. Bibliography continue. We have discography. Discography lists categories and brand, musical, instrumental, and materials on the premises of artists, composers, etc., etc. So my colleague will come and take the rest part of the
Good afternoon once again, class. OA Johnson is with you, and I will continue from where the first instructor stopped. As he has said, we've been talking about the information access tools and the tools that we can use to access and retrieve information materials from the library. And we have functions of bibliography, which provide easy access of information materials available in the library. And I would like to jump so that we can finish up on time. Then we'll move up to the library catalog. The library catalog has to do with the holdings which a particular library holds or group of libraries, all the information materials which a particular library holds at a particular point in time. And we have the print catalog, which is the card catalog, and then the online public access catalog. Here is the second code for attendance, 45HSY. I take it again, 45HSY. As I was saying, we have the card catalog and the online public access catalog. I would like you to master some acronym in the course of this lecture and subsequently for other modules that will still come up. The OPAC simply means online public access catalog. When I talk about the importance of, before I move to the card catalog, we have the importance of the library catalog, which indicates whether a book is in the library or not. And then it says us whether the source of information in the library can actually access it at that particular point in time. And it also saves your time. When it comes to the online public access catalog, that one is the fastest or the easiest way of actually retrieving information from the library. You don't have to go through the card catalog to start retrieving information from the files, from the card catalog. But when it comes to OPAC, you can easily, at your tap of your finger, you can easily access information via the library website. Then you go to OPAC, you search for whatever information you need via the author, the title of the book, or probably if you know the ISBN and the rest. When we talk about the print or manual or the card catalog, is a 3x5 catalog. By the time you come to the library for the library tour, all these things will be explained better to you and you will be able to see them physically. In an online class like this, we just want to make everything snappy. The card catalog will actually tell you all the information, the necessary information that you have on a particular card, where you have the name, the title, the author of the book, the ISBN, and the rest. And the same thing you have on the card is what you have in the OPAC. So when you get to the card catalog, you can easily retrieve the information you need and you take it to the appropriate shelf to retrieve the material. In the card catalog, which is the 3x5 card, you have the information there. And the information that you have there, which I have said the other time, that you have the author, the rest, ISBN, and so on. There is one important thing that you need to know, that you need to master for you to retrieve the information from the shelf. You have the classification number, or you can as well call it the code number or class mark. This is alphanumeric in nature. It is both written in alphabet and number, and you have it at your top left-hand corner of that card. You will see it. For instance, now, for those of us, if you happen to be in Faculty of Engineering, where we have our class mark is T, you can have TA, which is Civil Engineering, TA 43, and so on. So that class mark is very important, coupled with the name, the ISBN, or whatever thing that you need to couple. You have to write them out. You don't have to retrieve the card from the catalog. Just write the information out and then you take it to the necessary section or the necessary shelf to retrieve the information. So the number doesn't just get there on its own. There is a particular scheme that is being used for it to have it there to have the information on the card, and it is called the Library of Congress classification scheme. For institutions like, for instance, now for universities where we have large disciplines, or we have so much disciplines. So the Library of Congress classification scheme is being used to classify all our materials. All the books we have on shelves don't just get there on their own. So there are some work that are being done behind doors, that when you see all those books, you have books in medicine, you have books in agriculture, you have books in different disciplines. So the Library of Congress classification scheme is being used to process all those materials. And for smaller libraries, schools libraries, we have the decimal classification, the bliss classification, and so on. And currently in Eskaya Oluwasomi Library, the classification scheme that we use is the Library of Congress classification scheme, and the cards are kept in the catalog boxes. You don't have to retrieve them, just write out all the information they are in. For the Library of Congress classification schemes, there are some categories which are represented by alphabets. For instance, which I said the other time, A is for general works, B for philosophy, and so on like that. L for education, C for technology, R for medicine, so and so on. So as the first instructor said, there's some information for you to understand better. You get a book which is titled Information User from the University Library, so that you can read and understand better. Then on the 3x5 card, when we are still on the card catalog, when you pick or you see the card, we have the author or the title or the main catalog arranges the author entries alphabetically. Everything that you see, it is done alphabetically. We have the main author entry card, which contains all the bibliographic information of the title. And for multiple authors, more than 2, there are extra cards that are prepared for the additional authors. If it's 3, if it is 2, we have extra cards being prepared for it. And the most important thing about this card catalog is that you have all the information as all those bibliographic information is. You have them written and well detailed in the card. And the same thing is what you see in the online public access catalog. The name of the author, the ISBN. The ISBN is an acronym. It actually means International Standard Book Number. That is for books. And for journals, we have International Standard Serial Number. So this is an example of a main author card where you have the call number, which I said is alphanumeric in nature. We have the alphabet and the figures together with it. HD 30.4. Then under it we have SCH2. Then this is the name of the author, Sheikh Brown Charles A. That is the initial. And the title of the book says Analyzing Quantitative Data for Business and Management Students by Charles Sheckham and wherever. Like that, the place of publication, the publisher, and year of publication. Then the second author, which you have the arrow pointed, is Christian M. Shockley. That's another author. If you have more than 2 authors, all will be spelled out on the card. Then we have the accession number 69344 and so on. Then the ISBN. And then we have the subject, which is business, research, and so on. So we have additional author card for the second author. Then another thing in the subject catalog, that it describes any catalog in which the head of the entries designate the subject matters of the work. The entries are arranged systematically for subjects. What we have in the main author card, we have it in the subject. The difference is that this will just be the subject catalog card. All that we have, it won't be author entry point, it will be subject entry points. Example is this: like the other time, we have the author as the entry points, we have the subject and the entry point, followed by every other thing. We have business, then research, then every other thing being spelled out like that. Then we have the shelf list catalog card. Is a catalog type in which entries are sorted in the same orders as bibliographic items are shelved. This may also serve as the primary inventory for the library, and it is arranged in a classified order and in the same sequence as book stands on the shelf. Then accessioning a book, like the other time that I made mention of accession number where we have some numbers, I wouldn't like to go back. These are a unique number given to each book from inception to date, from where 001 till now that we have over 700,000 volumes. So that is the number, a particular number, a unique number given to a particular book. That is what is called accession number. It is given to an item and it comes to the library, and it's a unique copy to a copy of a title. If we have 3 copies of a title, we have 3 different accession number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Then we move to the online public access catalog, which is another information access tool. This is the electronic version of the card catalog. It's an electronic version of the library catalog, where we have what all the library holdings. What we have in the catalog, we have it in the online version, and it is an information access tool that guide the library resources. It has all the graphic control system. We have the access point, the title, the author, subjects, ISBN, and the rest. And the HOL OPAC is available at http://opac.oauife.edu.ng. Wherever you are, you going through that address, you can actually search for the material you need, the ones that we have uploaded, the ones that we have in our database. But the challenge is, if you actually need that book, you still have to come physically to the library to retrieve it, except if it is an ebook that you don't have to come to the library. If it is a physical book, a hard copy book, you have to come to the library to retrieve it. This is the interface of the OPAC. So you can search based on author, subject, ISBN, the title of the book, or date of or year of publication. Then we move to another information access tool, which is this web search tools. What do we mean by web search tools? We are in the information age where everybody is on the internet. You can search information at the tip of our fingers. So what do we mean by web search tool? It's simply a web page where one can actually search on the web. And these are basic tools for accessing the web, and this can be categorized into the search engines, meta search engines, and the directories. Then each search tool has its own unique set of files, which is called the database, upon which all searches are based. So there is a unique set files called the database, upon which all the searches you make upon which all searches are based. Then another thing is that there are more complete and accurate a database is, the successful a search is likely to be. Then we move to web browser. What is a web browser? It's like a kind of a software application that allows an internet user to display and actually interact with multimedia such as text, videos, images, among others, located on the web page, on websites on the World Wide Web. At a particular location, whenever you are connected to internet, you can launch any browser and fetch for information and search for information. The browser allows the computer to communicate with the web servers to get web pages for you to solve for web pages from the website and display information stored therein. Another thing is that the web browser contains following features such as address bar, the menu bar, the home page button, the reload button, the bookmark button, and so on. The examples of web browsers include the Google Chrome, the Mozilla Firefox, Internet Explorer, Crazy Browser, and so on. Then we move to search engine. What is a search engine? It's a program that searches for and identifies items on the database. And its main function of search engine is to search for information on the internet. The search engine will search for information, fetch information for you on the internet, and based on the keywords or the items you search for, whatever thing you need, the search engine will search for information from the website. And in the term of data collection and search method, it is automatic and it is keyword based. They are automatic and keyword based. Depending on your search method, it is automatic. Once you use any search engine, it brings out information from you on the internet. The size is very big and the speed is fast. We have different types of search engines. We have Google, Yahoo, Bing, among others. So we have the categorization of search engines. There are some that are all purpose. Those ones, Google now, anything. You need the name of somebody, just put it on Google. It will give to you. That one is all purpose. Then Bing, Yahoo, Call, Alta Vista, Excite, they are all purpose. Then the legal, we have the nurses, lesses. Those ones are for the law people, those in the faculty of law, the quick law, the Legapedia, and so on. Then for books, for those that always search for books, then go to Amazon, Bookboon, free books, and so on. For medicals, we have the MMD, GoldMed, and Helia, and so on. For jobs, those that want, don't worry, you don't have to search for jobs now. Just face your book now. By the time you are done with your first degree, you can hunt for jobs. We have Career 24, we have Jobberman, we have Jobs Pilots, and so on. When it comes to multimedia, we have Find Sounds, YouTube, Instagram, a lot of different multimedia out there now. Then for businesses, we have Alibaba, Amazon, Konga, Jumia, Hoovers, and so on. For socials, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, LinkedIn, and so on. And for maps, you in a station, you find your place, you find yourself in a place, you can't actually disappear where you are. You use your Google Map, the Map Quest, the Yahoo, and so on. For question and answers, ask.com, ask me now about.com, and so on. Then the meta search engine, that is a search engine as well, but in this case it's gathered information from several search engines. In search engine, keywords are submitted in the search box and it transmits the search simultaneously to several individuals. You have it like the Metacrawler, the Dogpile, the Excite, and the Mama. So simultaneously, it will search for several individual search engines and their databases of web pages, and information will be fetched. That is meta search engines. Then we have the subject directories. These assist in browsing many sites on the topic. They are broad based on search engines. Some are human created. Some they provide access via browsing the menu categories or by keyword search. Some they record only limited information and covered a tiny portion about websites. And they are very useful for high quality human reviewed websites on broad or general topics. So the search engines and the directories compared. If you want to actually compare search engines and the directories, search engines, they are created by computer software, while the directories they are actually human powered, or they are created by editors, human editors like human being. But when it comes to search engines, they are computer software programs that automatically collect information from the website, and it covers far more websites than the ones listed manually. They are not like directory that you have limited information about a particular website. One, it is being controlled or being added or created by human editor, not compared with the ones that have been programmed. Then the search engine is an automated software that scans the web, easily scan the webs and indexes pages, while a directory manually organizes the list of websites into categories and subcategories. Then the search engine is fast and it's constantly updated compared to directories that it has to be done manually. It's organized manually. Everything is done because it is being powered, created, or added by human editors. So in summary, I want to believe that we've actually discussed what information access tools is to use students. What are the tools that you can actually use to access and retrieve information from the library? We talk about abstract, which actually gives you the summary of a document, and it's like a pointer that actually tells you whether will I use a particular abstract or will I dump it and further search for more abstracts. Then we have index as well, which actually like a pointer as well, which actually tells you how to go about a particular information, which can make your work to be robust when it comes to your long essay and the rest. There are other information access tools that have been discussed, which I actually took from the library catalog, the manual one, which is a card catalog, and then the online public access catalog, which is the OPAC. So I would like to give out the third attendance code, D2 SQ2. I come again, D2 XQ2. Are we together? I said D2 SQ2. So I want to believe that at the end of this module, you'll be able to tell us or define what an abstract is, what an index is, ISBN, ISSN, OPAC, and the rest. And by Monday, next Monday, you will come to the library physically, and by then you'll be able to know the particular group you belong to. It is very, very important for you to come because you have your CA. And if you don't come physically, there is no way we can give you your CA. And there is a particular thing that is being done on a sectional basis. It is library tour, and it is part of the CA. It's as if it takes one quarter of your CA. So just make yourself available from next Monday to Ezekiel Oluwasanmi Library. The library tour will get you intimidated with the library, what goes on in the library, the routine activities in the library. So it is part of your continuous assessment. So you'll be expected by then, you know the group you actually belong to, you know your instructor, and then you get familiarized with the library, the different sections, the routine activities that is being carried out in Ezekiel Oluwasanmi Library. I want to believe that we've come to the end of this module 4, and we'll be at the same time next week for the next module. Thank you.